Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I'm Rabbi Lynn Liberman, Jewish Community Chaplain, Jewish Family Service of St. Paul, here with Cantor Deb. And we're just delighted again to bring Shabbat to you and to have a few moments together to celebrate, to relax, to welcome the Shabbat here in the middle of the summer, here in our Twin Cities. So we'll begin with Cantor Deb.
Lecha Dodi, to welcome the Sabbath bride. This is an old melody. Please sing along. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem ultiferet v'lithilah Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava techila. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri ki ba'orech kumi ori shir daberi kvod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kalaya la 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 Pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Welcoming Shabbat. We also welcome Shabbat with the candles, the lighting of the two lights, which we will do, and then be able to say the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
So we come together on Shabbat, we slow our time down, we slow our days down a little bit and come into a space of rest and relaxation for the next 24 hours. And we share this thought: give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter. in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem, over all people everywhere. Amen.
Amen. Ma yafeh hayom, how lovely is this day. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafeh hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
And now we turn our attention to the oneness of God, the saying of the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
We think about the oneness of God and the hopes and the prayers that God brings to us through the words of the Torah. We add our own words of hope, our own words of prayer in the following. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service.
We take a few moments of silent meditation and listen to the words that are in our own hearts. acceptable in thy sight, O Lord.
These are the words. Ela Hadvarim. The opening of this week's Torah portion highlights, by definition, the very name of the book itself, of the Torah. In this, the fifth and final book, Moses reiterates the story of the Israelites, giving insight and details, importance to what it will mean to the Israelites when they enter the Promised Land. It is unique to us as people. We have this capacity for words, language, deep expression through those words that we speak to each other. And so Moshe begins, Ela hadavarim asher diber Moshe el kol Yisrael. These are the words that Moses addressed to all the people of Israel. Now, the usual interpretation that is shared about these words is that they are words of admonition that Moses is placing upon the people. 13th century French commentator Giscuni points out, up to now, we actually have read about commandments that have been spoken about, that the ones that involve rituals and social legislation. But here, the words really begin on a different tone. They are warnings about a dire future for the Jewish people if these warnings should be ignored. The power of words. Words of reminding, but words can be caring, words of worry, and words of history that should not be forgotten. Moses, who now knows that he will not be entering the Promised Land, is intent on reminding the people of what is right and what is necessary toward having a good and prosperous future. Words matter. It is also interesting that in the calendar in this week, we will be observing on Saturday night, at the end of Shabbat, the beginning of Tisha B'Av. That's the 25-hour observance, the 9th of Av, that commemorates the destruction of the Holy Temple. Actually, both of them, the second one being destroyed in Jerusalem in the year 70. As an historical event, this state is understood to be when the Romans destroyed not just that first temple, but the second one, and thus the dispersion of the Jews throughout the world began. But why? Why was it destroyed? So historically, we could say, that army was much more prepared, bigger, had more armaments. They were just a better force to contend with. But the rabbis also added one more interpretation that taught us a deeper lesson. The destruction of that special central place of Jewish worship and gathering was destroyed because the Jewish people themselves used language and behavior that was filled with disdain and hatred. In Hebrew, sinat chinam, specifically baseless hatred. This kind of hatred can result in our delegitimization of those whose way of life and whose worldview we cannot accept. It simply puts down others, often for no reason. And we willingly ignore putting them down rather than helping them and building them up. Perhaps it is no accident then that this Torah portion, Ela Hadvarim, Devarim, comes just before Tisha B'Av to remind us that words matter. Words make a difference. There is one wise response worth noting. Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, who was the first chief rabbi of Israel, taught that upon this destruction of the Second Temple, we know that it was destroyed by these bad words, by this awful behavior, this baseless hate behavior. And he suggested to us that instead of sinat chinam, that one might like to act instead with ahavat chinam, baseless love. A love that comes and swells up from within, that has no reason other than to be present to and to be aware of and to seek to be the best of human beings that we can be one to another. Shabbat Shalom.
Please join me in singing Ose shalom. Ose shalom bimromav. Huya ase shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav. Huya ase shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Vimru, vimru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Wow, we're at the end of another Shabbat
Shabbat
service together.
shalom.
Well, we have Kiddush, and then we'll do Hamotzi. So I'll hand the cup with the wine to our cantor Deb here.
Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
Manischewitz blackberry.
And what would Shabbat be without challah bread? This big, beautiful loaf. So we'll say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. This is the best part of Shabbat. Whew. Yum.
He's good.
Shabbat shalom, Cantor Deb. Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom,
everybody.
Rabbi. See you soon.